This ain't Camp Crystal Lake. We have fun here. Hello, how's everybody doing? Let's get rid of that right there. We go. Well, happy Friday the 13th, everyone. All right, let's get over here and say hi to everybody. All right, so first one in was Phelan Clan Wolf, then Crew 1351, then Rebel Canners. And I noticed something when Tammy commented Rebel Canners, it showed up on my my YouTube side here, not the StreamYard yet. But then when I checked StreamYard, it was in there, so I refreshed YouTube and it showed up there. I don't know what's up with them not posting all the comments when they're supposed to, especially since it said live chat, so it's supposed to get them all at the same time. Anyways, after Tammy was Shady Hill Homestead, and they're we're talking about how many ads we got during the kick in there. Tammy, are you still in here by any chance? Not sure. The number's down at dropped to 4, so I'm not sure if she's in here or not. But just to share with you guys, let me get it up here, set up here. So Wednesday, I got into Sam's Club at 8 o'clock, second person through the door, first person to the meat counter, and they had a boatload of steaks and hamburger and stuff at 25% off because it was getting close to its best use by date. So I got a package of what I thought was a 5-pound package of hamburger. Turns out it was 6.2 pounds of hamburger. Nice. Anyways, and I got some steaks and some other things that were really cheap because 25% off really lowered it down. Anyways, this morning I woke up. It may even be, it's around about 4 o'clock and maybe a little bit before. But I woke up. When I woke up, it was like, I'm wide awake. So I went in, got up the big skillet, put it on the cooktop there, and browned up all that hamburger, and then got the pressure canner ready. And I didn't put it in. Hang on. There we go. Get rid of that. I didn't put them into pints. I put them into quarts, or partial quarts. And this is what I wound up with here. So that's 6 pounds of hamburger, and it settled a bunch inside the container. And so, and the white lines is where the water level was. That's hard water on there, and I will scrape my finger. It came right off. So once they're cool, I'll just wash it off. But hey, that's what I did this morning when I woke up early. And so it was actually okay. The pressure canner came up to temperature at 2 minutes after 6 my time. So, and it was hour pressure canning time 7, and it was done. By 5 minutes of 8, there was no pressure left in the canner. I used to press so it cools off quicker. Pulled them out. I mean, I took the lid off, set the lid down, was grabbing the tongs, and the one of them, the one on the far right there, went ping. Oh, picked it out, set it on the counter, reached over, picked out the big the actual full quart one, picked it up, set it on the towel there, turned around to pick up the other one, and it went ping. Picked the other one up, put it out there, got a towel, dried them all off, and careful, just set on, just dried it off. Turned around the other one, and ping. It was like perfect, and there was absolutely no siphoning. So, yeah, it was beautiful. All right, so let's get on to today's stuff here, and we will get going here and get that done. So I will get rid of that and bring up the here we're on chapter 15. Quick recap of chapter 13. There's a bunch of stuff, they were, going on, getting training and stuff. Michael and Kimberly went to T9 Tactics, and we're doing deep immersion training for both in pistols and rifle. Their parents came in, got several hours of range time and instruction. In between, the parents running stuff up to the cabin or up to Jake's property up at in Alpine, and so they were leaving, supposed to be leaving the Tempe area Wednesday, the day, this is Thursday, the day before, and Monica decided that she was going to trick Kimberly into going to be with Michael and go to Michael's parents' cabin up there at Jacob Lake, and then she was just going to she would go to her cousin Jake's place by herself, and all sorts of crap happened, and that's what we're picking up here today. So, all right, Jake's. So October 8th and 9th, 8th and 9th, yeah. So Thursday morning, October 8th, Michael woke up before the sun and was up and started setting aside arrow shafts and an assortment of tips for them. He pulled out two bows, his hunting bow and the Phoenix to buy for him, but gave him as a wedding present, but was given. Sorry, hang on, I need to change that. But was given him as a wedding present by Randy, the owner of archery headquarters. He thought about taking 1 to 3 Boomsang Recon folding crossbow pistols they had, and the 130-pound folding limb hunting crossbow he bought during the week. But now that they had the Glocks and the Glocks and the car 15s, he wouldn't need them. If they ran into trouble going after Kimberly's mother, he wanted to be prepared for it. If Monica died, he was afraid that Kimberly would never forgive herself for it, and in turn, him for her loving him, and in turn, him for her loving him so much that that her mother left Kimberly to be with him while she went on to Jake's. To stop that, he would go full-on first season arrow on any of those threatening to do her harm. Michael packed up 2 compound bows, packed up the 2 compound bows into separate bow cases with 60 arrow shafts for each, along with an assortment of tips. Michael also packed the oversized pistol case with the 2 Glock 29s SFs with suppressors hidden beneath the foam of the pistol case. He also had 6 15-round magazines and 10 10-round magazines loaded and placed in cutouts in the foam. The double shoulder holsters for the Glocks with suppressors on were in the gym bag with his Green Arrow outfit. He added 2 bulk ammo cans with 400 rounds of ammo in each one. All of the pistol ammunition he was going to bring was Smith & Wesson 40 caliber and full metal jacket. He wanted better control now. So he was going to use the 40 in STE instead of the 10 millimeter ammo. Okay. He grabbed the Colt Car 15 with its suppressor hidden beneath the foam of the rifle case. He also took 10 of the 30-round magazines and three of the 10. No, I don't need. That's going to get confused. I'm going to take that one out of there. Because he has 10 of the MWG 90-round mag. So he's taken 3 of the 90-round drum magazines, all loaded. He grabbed 4 additional bulk ammo cans with 500 rounds of 223 in each one. If there were trouble, using guns would be their last resort. If they had to shoot someone, they couldn't pull the bullet back out of the body like they could an arrow. Society hasn't totally collapsed yet, Michael thought to himself. We don't want to go to war just yet. But if war came to him, he wanted to be ready. With the problems being reported in the flood zone evacuation areas, all right, I need, okay, relocation areas. There we go. Yeah. So the evacuation relocation areas, the friction between locals and evacuees, not to mention major news reporting about the fights have been breaking out in larger cities in the Midwest, along with the hype of being spread of non-traditional news on the non-traditional news sites. Michael wasn't sure wasn't sure how soon it was going to happen in Tempe, Mason, and Phoenix area. In the Tempe, Mesa, and Phoenix area. He knew it was going to happen, just not when and how bad it was going to get. Everything was packed in. Once everything was packed and set in piles, he started to haul the supplies out to the 1969 Jeep Wagoneer. After the first trip out, he was walking back to the supply room. He stopped at his bedroom door as emotion swept over him. He hadn't wanted Kimberly to sleep out in their trailer by herself, so he'd given his bedroom, like the not just bedroom, to Kimberly to sleep in, and took an air mattress and a sleeping bag and slept in the supply room. He leaned forward and rested his head against the door jamb and groaned a sigh. Then he pulled himself back upright and took a deep breath and walked away towards the supply room. He was carrying another load out to the Jeep that's not a capital W, when he heard Kimberly coming up behind him. He turned and found her carrying her bow case for her Phoenix bow, her father's rifle case with the Car 15 and its suppressor. She sighed at him. She smiled at him with an "I love you, but you're being a man" smile. "Babe, you're taking too much stuff. This is a simple find her and convince her to come here, or I stay with her," she sighed. "You're packing like Jake's was under siege and you're coming to rescue us. But according to the news last night, things are starting to go sideways. I just wanted to make sure I was prepared for anything. If something happened to your mother, you'd never forgive yourself or even me because I failed to prepare properly." "Oh, babe, you're a super scout, my super scout. I wouldn't blame you. Okay, then what do I take out? One bow, half the ammunition, half the magazines. Remember, if we're using guns, we should have suppressors on them. We will be sniping, not doing a shootout. That's if things don't go south in Tempe. I have a feeling that your mother is not at Jake's right now. Michael mused. She would realize we would go there to we would go look. Yeah, we would go look for her there. You're right, Kimberly suddenly got sullen. I don't know where to look for her. I have a couple ideas, Michael smiled. Well, let's get the vehicles loaded. Vehicles, Michael asked. Aren't you riding with me? Sorry, lover. I'm taking my 110, so I will have it with me at Jake's. Oh, I thought after we find your mom and get you back together, if it was at Jake's, I could just bring it to you and my mom, and that's lowercase, not a capital for mom. My mom would come get me. Also, it would allow us to have one of us free to defend us if we were both in the same vehicle. I didn't think about that, she said as she pondered the benefits of Michael's idea. Okay, we'll use your idea. She put her case in the back of the. I don't need to have that date in there all the time. In the back of the Jeep Wagoneer. Good. We have 2 more trips of supplies, and then we have to pack some changes of clothing. What sort of supplies? Camping gear, food, Michael explained. With the new owners in your old house, we don't have a place to stay. So there's a couple sleeping bags, pads, a 4-man tent, and a small camp stove, and a week's worth of Mountain House food, and a couple moving blankets, etc., etc., etc. One tent for both of us? Kimberly asked suspiciously. It's getting colder, and 2 in a tent stay a lot warmer than 1 alone. That's why most scout troops have 2-man tents. Two people can take down a tent 3 times faster than them taking down 2 tents by them by themselves. Michael responded as they walked back to the cabin for more supplies. Besides, I trust you. If I get fresh, you have my permission to punch me. Kimberly looked stricken, thinking about how she slapped Michael when she thought he was asking her to have sex with him. I won't ever hit you again, even to save my life. I don't see how hitting you will save your life. Got it. Then she sighed. What? Do you really think my mom? Do you think that my mom will really try to avoid me until after the asteroid passes? I don't know, Michael said, very unsure about it. She may be hoping that you give in and stay here with us. If she is, she doesn't know me. Maybe she does, and she has a plan to stay hidden for a while, at least until she believes you have given up. Who knows? It may get tough enough around. It may be that. Sorry. Who knows? It may get tough enough to get around and find her. What do you mean? Kimberly asked dubiously. Well, so far we haven't had any problems getting fuel, but once they shut down the Gulf oil rigs and well, we may be out of luck and stuck where we run out of fuel. Run out of fuel. Crud, Kimberly snorted. We need horses. Mom was thinking about getting some, Michael said, with a questioning look on his face. I don't know if she has something in the works for getting some or not. We need to ask and get them while we can, Kimberly said. Yeah, we need to breed them too, Michael added. You're right, Kimberly agreed. But right now, let's try not waking up my parents, Michael said as he in a hushed voice as he opened the cabin door. They worked in silence while in the cabin and quickly moved supplies and quickly moved the supplies outside. Then they began organizing them in the Jeep. When they finished packing the supplies and weapons, they went back inside and got their clothes. The week before, Benjamin had the forethought to have Kimberly give him her sizes, and he bought a dozen jeans and shirts and 24 pairs of socks and a couple heavy work boots and a couple of work jackets. When Janet found out what Benjamin had done, she asked Kimberly what she preferred in the way of underwear and bras, and Kimberly said boxer briefs and sport bras and gave her sizes. On one of her trips into Kanab, comma, and he changed it to Janet, Jane, Janet. Come on. Why didn't this do it? Autocorrect is dropping crap out that I programmed into it specifically for my novels. Janet stopped and picked up a dozen sets for Kimberly. Because of this, Kimberly had clothes that she could take with them, but she still wanted some more at the Clarks, so she told Michael that they should stop at the Walmart in Winslow and get her some more clothes for the cabin. She realized she only had her nice clothes in the cargo container that the Clarks had let her mom and her use. She had taken all her rugged type clothes to Jake's except for 3 sets of jeans, shirts, and socks and underwear. For the last week, she'd washed two of the sets while wearing the third. Kimberly realized that she had been too worried about being mobile and had the things she needed for. Oh, she worried too. Sorry, I got confused for a second. She had been too worried about being mobile and had the things she needed for the long haul at Jake's, not more on hand now. Because of that, she was going to need to get several more changes of clothes besides what the Clarks had bought for her. She had picked up 2 more Shinobi Shosuzuku, her ninja outfits, 2 weeks before. She had put one at the cabin and one at Jake's. Now that the Jeep was packed and ready to go, Michael and Kimberly stopped to take in a view of the cabin and property in the light of the morning sunrise. Repeating here, I'm not sure what to do about that. Let's see, delete that. Now in the early morning daylight, they could see all that Janet had done to get the property ready and to keep them alive in the aftermath of the asteroid. Your mom is amazing, Kimberly said in awe. What she has done by herself is incredible. That she is, Michael said with pride, then added, just like my wife to be. Hang on it. He smiled at her. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Kimberly smiled back and wrapped her arm around his waist. You kids were up early, Janet said as she walked up behind him, cradling her oversized mug of hot chocolate. Hey, Mom, we were just marveling at all you'd accomplished. Yeah, it's amazing, Kimberly added. So take a picture and show it To your mom, Janet quipped. I will. Hey, Mom, Michael interjected. Have you or Dad done anything about horses? Yes, I talked to a couple of the ranchers and bought 8 horses, 6 quarter and 2 Appaloosa. We'll start breeding them in the spring. What about saddles, reins, and whatever? Hey, that doesn't sound right. And whatever else gear, whatever. What other gear? What other gear we need? Yeah. Mr. Nolan Buttons, who sold us the cattle, has a son that works at the bargain barn in Kanab. He said he would get us what we need at a reasonable price. I'm going to go there as soon as they're open today. See about pack saddles or whatever they're called, Michael suggested. I already downloaded some books and videos on horse care, saddling, riding, and breeding and such, Janet said. Great, we can watch them later when we're all settled in and locked down. Michael acknowledged with relief. I was worried about learning more about horses than I did than what I did for the horsemanship merit badge. Getting mixed up there. The horsemanship merit badge. Yeah, it's printed right. I just can't pronounce it right, guys. You would have done fine, Janet said. She patted Michael on the shoulder, and then took another sip of her hot chocolate. We better get something to eat, Kimberly said. We have a 5.5 hour drive ahead of us. Right, Michael said, and turned back to the cabin. Are you guys all packed up? Janet asked, concern heavy in her voice. Yes, we finished a little bit ago, Kimberly answered. Then you'll go find your mother right after you eat, Janet stated more than asked. Yes, Mama, Kimberly responded. Janet put her hand on the shoulder of the young woman that her adopted son loved. She's fine. Nothing has started going bad in Tempe yet, and hopefully she's at Jake's place. Hang on, I gotta change that from I to we. We kind of doubt it, Kimberly sighed. We figured that she would hide out somewhere for several days because she knows that I will head to Jake's to find her. She'll wait, and when she thinks that I've given up, when she thinks that I've given up and come back to the cabin, then she'll show up at Jake's. At Jake's. Is she responding to any of your text messages? Not since last night on the drive here. She said to stay here. Benjamin told me what happened and that you both were willing to set aside your goal to wait 22 months to get married. 22 months to get married and go get married yesterday to make sure it was legal, because you were afraid that you would not be able to find someone who could legally marry you on the date you wanted. Janet took a breath and then continued. I would have been disappointed, but I would have understood. Then she stopped at the door and turned to face them. I thought about that. I thought about that too. She then smiled. I took an online exam to become a minister and downloaded all the paperwork needed so I could legally marry the two of you when you wanted. Michael and Kimberly threw themselves forward and hugged Janet, and they broke down in tears. Janet and Benjamin waved goodbye to Michael and Kimberly as they drove off to go to Jake's. When they were out of sight, Janet sighed and asked, "Do you think they'll be all right?" "Yes, they'll be fine. They're smart, well-trained, and devoted to each other and their parents. They'll be fine." He sighed. "It's the idiots that try to stop them that I'm worried about." "Do you think that they can keep their promise to wait until they are married?" "Oh, yeah. Knowing that you can marry them took a load of worry off their shoulders and gave them extra strength to carry on," Benjamin smiled. "Thank you for thinking about that." He wrapped an arm around her waist and gave her a hug as they turned back towards the cabin. "Mr. President," his aide spoke up as he entered the room, "we have an update on the evacuations." "Yes, James, what is it?" "No, what is the update?" I need to actually read what I'm saying. "When we are getting, we are getting back on track slowly. Yeah, we are getting back on track slowly. The new target has been moved back forward to the 11th. We won't be able to get the evacuations done by the 10th, but we are no longer looking at the 13th. And the databases completed last night. The museums, they should be cleaned out this evening, and their contents at the storage facilities by tomorrow noon." "Good," the president smiled. "What about the oil reserves?" "All facilities are full. The railroads are filling every tank car they can and moving them to the higher elevations of the Plain States and hang on, I misdid that. Wherever there is a refinery with a rail access. "Thank you, James. Can you forward that out to the cabinet?" "Yes, sir." James nodded and left the office. Monica sat at Susan's breakfast table, sipping on her hot apple cider, making notes in a small spiral-bound pocket notebook. She would get more rechargeable batteries, LED lanterns, and several more propane tanks. Her friend Susan hang on, I need to change something here on this one. Her friend Susan, who didn't think that anything was going to happen as far as in Tempe, was acting a little uneasy last night and this morning. morning. The city of Tempe put out that they would hire 3 from California, and they wound up with over that number and were working with Mesa and Phoenix to hire more as well. Monica knew that Kimberly would go to Jake's to look for her. Because of that, she was going to wait several days before she would leave to go to Jake's. She was hoping that Kimberly would give up after several days and go back to the cabin. Monica had already called Jake and let him know what was going on and asked him to tell Kimberly that he would not be responsible for her, and that he could not let her stay there by herself, and to have him tell her to go stay with Michael and his parents until he calls that her mother was there. Jake said he understood her. Let me think that okay. Good. And what she wanted would tell Kimberly to go to Michael's cabin. Michael used one of the escape routes which Kimberly had planned out to evacuate from Jake's to approach the property. They stopped in the woods they stopped in the woods at the east side of the property and used binoculars to scan Jake's and his neighbor's properties to see if they could determine if Monica was there. They didn't see her F-350 anywhere, and after 20 minutes of watching the activity at Jake's, they decided to backtrack and go around and come in the front way. When they approached the neighborhood where Jake's place was at, they noticed there was hang on, I want to change. Okay. Yeah. When they approached the neighborhood where Jake's place was at, they noticed there were now several trees blocking the lanes of the road, alternating each lane in several locations. The first blockage was the opposite direction. The second was in their lane, and there were several people standing standing behind the trees. A stop sign had been attached to the trees. Then beyond that, on the left lane, it was blocked again. They slowed as they approached the roadblocks, and one of the people stepped out from behind the blockade. He held his hand up for them to stop. Coming to a stop just beyond the first tree blockade, Michael rolled down his window and with a smile said to the guy walking up to him, hang on a minute. Let me go and move this up here. I see Jake took my advice. Huh? What? The guy said. I said, I see Jake took my advice with the trees for roadblocks. Oh, you know Jake? Yeah. My fiance and her mother are staying with them, Michael said with a bit of sarcasm. Oh, okay. You can pass. He replied, not sure what else to do. A few minutes later, they pulled into Jake's driveway. They'd parked the Jeep and were walking up the walking up the step. Hang on. I just want to switch it around. Walking up the walkway to the steps of the house before anyone came out to see who was coming in. When someone did come out, they were very casual about addressing them. It was someone that Michael had only seen here twice before, and he never actually talked to him. Kimberly's seen him several times, but also never talked to him. Can I help you? He asked as he stepped towards him from the front door of the house. Is Jake around? Hang on, I need to put something else on. Not sure how to word this here. Trying to figure out the best way to say this. Okay. on the porch from the front door of the house. Is Jake around? Kimberly asked. Save. Hang on. Something's out of whack. Yep. There we go. Who wants to know? Hang on. Something's here. Who wants to know? The guy asked back. Who's asking? Kimberly said flatly. He puffed up out his chest and opened his mouth to make a retort when the front door burst open and Jake's 11-year-old daughter Jennifer came flying. Hang on, comma. Jake's 11-year-old daughter Jennifer came flying out, followed by her cousin of the same age, Tammy, and her nine-year-old brother Gregory. Kimberly yelled, "Jennifer, you're back!" Jennifer clipped the guy as she went by him, causing him to turn a quarter of a turn to his right. Then Tammy tagged him with her shoulder as she went by, knocking him really off balance. Then Gregory came up by. He paused, pushed the guy with both hands, causing him to lose balance and fall face first onto the porch. Then Gregory took off running to catch up to the girls who were already at the bottom of the porch steps. Hey, Jennifer, Kimberly said as Jennifer plowed into her with a hug. Are you going to be shooting the bell again? She asked wide-eyed. Not this trip. Where's that little twerp? The guy on the porch bellowed as he got back to his feet, rubbing his scratched up hands. Gregory quickly ducked behind Kimberly to hide. Great, here comes the great pain in the butt, Jennifer. Not sighed, mumbled. Mumbled. There we go. Got spelled right. Oh, we got 5 people in here again. Welcome, everyone. What's his name? Kimberly asked. Joey. And Joey, Jennifer answered in a nasally tone as Joey charged down the porch steps onto the walkway. I wouldn't do that, dude. Michael chuckled as he stepped back behind Kimberly and guided the girls and Gregory back farther too. Well, you're not me, Joey said as he tried to push Kimberly aside to get at Gregory. The next thing Joey knew that he was in the air and coming down hard on the walkway. Then he was finding it very hard to breathe. Joey was laying there struggling to breathe when Jake came out of the front door. What's going on? Jake asked, looking at Joey laid out on the walkway. Joey was just finding out that guys shouldn't push girls around, Jennifer laughed. Told you, dude. Michael chuckled as he walked around Joey with the 2 girls and Gregory in tow. Jake came down the steps, shaking his head. Joey, I told you to keep your hands to yourself or someone's going to beat you bad. She didn't beat him, She didn't beat him, just flipped him, Jennifer, still giggling as she tried to hide her laughter. Yeah, it was like amazing, Tammy said, all excited. He tried to push her aside, and the next instant he was flying. He was in the air and came down on his back. It was so cool. Jake looked at Kimberly It was just a simple throw for a simple jerk, Kimberly quipped, then asked, "What's his relationship?" "My cousin Agnes's boy," Jake answered, none too thrilled having to make the admission. "The same Agnes that my mom had problems with at Grandpa Sam's farm?" "Yep, I still owe your mom plenty of thanks for taking care of that." Jake chuckled. "Let's go inside to talk," he added as his face became very serious. "Okay," Kimberly replied, not sure what to make of the sudden transformation. Uh, Not sure what to make of the sudden transformation as and followed Jake in as Joey moaned on the walkway. Jake led him to a room off the kitchen. It was full of quilting and sewing supplies. When Jennifer and Tammy tried to follow, Jake told them this was a private matter and closed the door. "What's wrong?" Kimberly asked as panic started to set in. "That's what I want to know. Huh? Why doesn't your mother want you here?" "Oh," Kimberly said in relief. "So you have talked to her." "Last night, she said not to let you stay here by yourself, but obviously you're not by yourself. What's going on?" She wants me to go ahead and live with Michael and his parents, get married, and start having babies. She doesn't want to go because she's afraid if she does, she will offend you, and she feels like she will be a fifth wheel there at the CAB at the cabin. Jake started chuckling. "She didn't seem to be mad at you, and she didn't go into that aspect of it. Now with that bit of information, it all makes a lot of sense. There's more," Michael said. "Oh?" Jake looked a little surprised. "Tell him." "Well, I need to Kimberly faltered and took another breath. Since the first night my mom said we were going to come here, I've been having bad dreams about this whole area being overrun and everyone killed. The entire neighborhood burnt to the ground, dead bodies everywhere." "That may have been true before we started making improvements," Jake replied to her. "When we came through the checkpoint, did anybody call or radio that two people were coming to see you?" "No," Jake answered, then rolled his eyes in realization. The checkpoint should be checking before they let anyone through. It'll become more important as we get closer to the arrival of the asteroid. You may want to have a central command station manned 24/7. Yeah, manned 24/7 to monitor the checkpoints." "What do you mean?" "We could have taken out the checkpoint so quick. As soon as we stopped, they relaxed, and we could have shot them all in a couple seconds," Michael explained. "If that were to happen, I'm not sure I could keep her alive even if I was here. I do not want her here without me, and I've been bugging her about it, Kimberly added. Well, I'm going to change some, or anyone. Yeah, I'm not sure I could keep her or anyone else alive if I were, alive, comma, even if I were here. I do not want her without me, and I've been bugging her about it, Kimberly added. She's hoping that Kimberly will give up and go back to my parents' place, and then she'll come here. Then, hang on, Monica. Monica's hoping that Kimberly will give up and go back to my parents' place, then she'll come here, Michael added. That's basically what she told me, Jake said, shaking his head. Is she supposed to check in with you? Yeah, after breakfast and dinner, Jake said reluctantly. Ooh. By phone, text, or email. This morning it was by text. If she texts you after dinner, have her call you. Tell her you want to make sure it's her, not someone who has gotten hold of her phone, Michael instructed him. That's a good idea, Jake. I don't know how a bunch of words disappeared out of here. I've read through this before, and there were things. There were some words in here about the Jake said enthusiastically. Said shit was in there before. Oh man. Okay, let's see what we got here. I should have thought about that. When's your next town meeting? Kimberly asked. Tomorrow evening. Good. We should be back for it, Michael said after Kimberly nodded to him. Then added, just in case we don't make it back in time, we're going to make some notes for you to discuss with everyone. Sounds good. Hang on here. Jake said. For now, we're going to get some lunch and do an inspection tour, Michael said. And he and Kimberly headed for the door. It was just before lunch when Janet got back to the cabin. She had the van full of saddles and tack for the horses, as well as a few other items. She backed up to one of the cargo containers and unloaded the saddles and tack. Benjamin finished setting up the travel trailer. Benjamin had finished setting up the travel trailer and unloaded the F-450 after Janet left to go to the bargain barn. Once he was done, he called and said he was heading off with a dump trailer to St. George to pick up a portable sawmill they had ordered. It had a generator unit to power the electric motor that ran the mill. It could also be hooked up to a 60 amp 240 outlet and run off the grid, or a solar system that produced that much amperage in 240 volts. She fixed that. Doesn't sound right. Let me go back to that. System. All right, that sounds a little bit better. Or a solar system power station that could produce that much amperage in 240 volts. Hang on, am I missing no, all right. She fixed herself a sandwich and turned on the crock pot low and filled it with taco soup ingredients for dinner. Then she went outside and loaded 4 rolls of barbed wire, wire staples, and the tools she needed into the bucket of the Coyote. I don't need the rest of that because we already talked about it before. And went about enlarging the pasture area for the sheep and cows. Then she would fence off a separate area for the horses. She would have Benjamin start driving the post for that when she got back. When he got back. Hang on, I want to change this so it's start driving the T-post for that when he got back. All right, now we know what type of posts they are. It was about 40 minutes after dinner when Monica texted Jake. He texted back for her to call when it was safe to do so. She called immediately. He explained that he wanted to make sure that she was safe and that she actually had her phone and that it wasn't someone pretending to be her planning on doing something bad. She said she was at her friend's house. Hang on, I need to put an apostrophe there. Her friend's house for now. He told her that Kimberly and Michael were here and out in the barn cleaning weapons. She said she understood his concern and she might head up there on Saturday or Sunday sooner if Kimberly goes back to Michael's parents' place. Jake said he would let her know as soon as they left. Kimberly and Michael decided to wait until morning to go to Tempe to look for Monica. They wanted to see if she was all right. They wanted to wait and see if she was all right when she contacted Jake after dinner. When he said she told him she was at a friend's house, Michael and Kimberly glanced at each other knowingly. Friday morning, October 9th. The sun wasn't even up yet when Jake stepped out on the porch to start his daily chores with the milking of the cows. He did a double take and was surprised to see Michael and Kimberly running back up the street towards the house in MCCUs with backpacks and sidearms on. And once again, for those just joining, the MCC uses Marine Corps Combat Utility Uniform, the equivalent of the Army BDU, with backpacks and sidearms on. As they came up the driveway, he noticed that the backpacks were heavy from the way they bounced. He waved as they ran by, heading to the small barn, and he thought to himself, we should be doing that too. 45 minutes later, Jake came out of the big barn carrying 2 6-gallon buckets of milk. He set them down close to the back door and was about to pick them up again when he saw Kimberly and Michael fighting. At least that's what he thought at first. Then he realized that they were sparring. They were sparring very fast, and it looked like Michael was barely able to keep up with Kimberly. I hate it when they give me that stupid reminder. So that's doing it over there too. Okay. Yeah. So Microsoft said they were going to stop doing updates and supporting Windows 10 last year, and they're still doing updates. Of course, I figured out the updates are trying to get you to jam up 10, so you have to upgrade to Windows 11. So I go in and I delete the latest update before it's installed. And then they wait a month and they run it again. So anyways, let's get back to this. They were sparring very fast, and it looked like Michael could barely keep up with Kimberly. He watched him for several minutes, amazed at the skill displayed by these two young people. As young as they were experts, knowledgeable beyond their years. After a few more minutes, he turned and took the fresh milk over to the house. Hang on a minute. Okay, yeah, that's right, because he set him down by the barn door when he closed the barn door. Over to the house. By the time he finished straining the milk and put it in gallon jars, labeling them with the big refrigerator in the lean-to pantry on the side of the house, everyone else in the house was finally up. Jennifer had gone out to feed the rabbits and chickens, but now she came running back into the house, all upset, shouting that Kimberly and Michael were fighting behind their barn. Jake had to explain to her they weren't really fighting each other, but were sparring, which was to practice fighting so they could be good at fighting when the need arose. Jennifer nodded that she understood and went back outside to do her chores. While she was feeding the rabbits, she glanced back over at the small barn to watch Kimberly and Michael, but they were no longer outside. Jake's family were finishing up their morning chores and getting ready for breakfast when Kimberly and Michael, followed by Tammy, came into the house. Tammy announced them as soon as she opened the door. Jake greeted them in the living room and commented on their exercise program and their devotion to it. Kimberly replied that it has helped them keep their focus. That it has. Read it again. Kimberly replied that it has helped them keep their focus. Michael then added that they were heading back into Tempe to look for Monica. He asked Jake not to tell Monica that they were headed there. He added that they should be back by 7 o'clock in time for the town meeting. Jake agreed and said that he would do so just to get Monica back from Tempe as soon as possible. He added that if Monica that when Monica after breakfast, BREAKFA, breakfast, after breakfast comment, if she asked, he would tell her that the two of them were out checking the perimeter of the town out and giving their feedback to those that they were talking to, and that they were speaking at the town meeting tonight. Michael shook Jake's hand and thanked him for his help in getting Monica back from Tempe, and said so long until tonight. Kimberly added her thanks and said goodbye. Susan was on the phone wrapping up another home sales as Monica finished washing the lunch dishes. This was the third sale she was able to close today. Monica was impressed with the way Susan was able to find properties that people were willing to sell. What was more impressive was the way she was able to gauge the urgency of the client and adjust the commission fee, adjust the price, price, and in turn the commission fee accordingly. When she found the perfect property that the client was looking for, the fee went up a little bit. If the client was desperate for any place, it went up a little more because you usually find a place in a couple hours. There were other details that would add or subtract from the final fee, but these were incidental and did not factor in as much to the price. She hung up the call. 8.5% on $7.25 million. What? Monica exclaimed. $616,000 commission, Susan said as she danced around giggling. You made how much? That gives me over $8 million in commission since the news of the asteroid broke. $600. Yeah. I want to change that. I need to bump that up a little bit. Over $9.5 million in commissions since the news of the asteroid broke. Holy cow, Susan, what are you going to do with all that money? Monica asked her good friend. I don't know just yet. Susan has stopped giggling. You know, Monica, I'm starting to get a little worried. I think you're right about what's going to happen in a couple of weeks after when the asteroid arrives. What do you mean? Innocently. Monica asked innocently. Come on, you know she's Susan sighed. With all the people buying property here and the police department hiring all the California cops they can, you selling your place and going to your cousin's place, wherever that is, Kimberly's boyfriend's family, moving all their belongings up north to Utah, and all that food I saw in their trailer. You guys obviously believe that something is going to happen here. Yeah, Monica responded. A lot of people in the cities are going to panic and do stupid things. Others are going to try to take advantage of the panic and steal, rape, and murder. That's why we're getting out, and you should too. But with all the cops they're hiring, aren't going to be enough when they run out of food or there's rioting in every neighborhood. Besides, when seconds count, the police are minutes away. You really think it's going to get that bad? Susan asked in disbelief. Yes, we do. Kimberly and Michael's family don't think I'm far enough away from the city at my cousin's place. They keep telling me to come up to Utah with them. So what do you think I should do? Get supplies and get out of the city soon, Monica said flatly. what supplies. First, you need to get a 1-ton pickup truck or bigger. Then get a cargo trailer or a travel trailer with lots of room. Then we need to get you several years worth of food, clothing, sanitary supplies, medications, and Monica, pause for a second. Do you have anyone out in the boonies you can go stay with? How far away do they have to be from the city? At least 4 hours, I would guess. Like I said, Michael's family are further away and they're worried that I'm too close. Why would that be too close? All right. Hang on a second, folks. I got to take care of something. I'll be right back. So, banners. I'll find it. Where is it? There it is. Okay. All right. What do you say? Potty break? No, not a potty break. Want to get a piece of cheese to snack on. When I talk a lot, I don't know what it is. I suddenly start yawning and stuff. So I don't think I'm breathing as deep as I should be when I'm talking. So, a little bit of oxygen deprivation. So I get yawny and a little bit sleepy. But, if I eat something, that causes me to slow down a little bit and take deeper breaths. They believe that things are going to get so bad here in the cities this winter that in the spring that people when people can travel uh, let me change it. A lot of them are going to make their way out to the countryside to find food. and food and safety from the gangs in the city. They also believe that these people will be ill prepared food wise, that they'll be very hungry, and that they will turn to violence themselves to get food for their families. That is something else you need to get: guns and ammo. Susan looked at her in disbelief. You're kidding, right? Susan, Monica sighed. When people turn to violence to get food, how are you going to stop them from killing you to get your food? I don't know. Call the police? What if the phones aren't working? What if the police are too busy to come right away? What if they are the police? The police could run out of food too. Susan gasped at the picture Monica was painting with her questions. The cities will be the nastiest place will be the nastiest places. Hang on. Nastiest places to be this winter. You can't believe everything the government is telling us. We feel that they may be hiding some things to try to keep the panic under control. But the fact is, with so many people that are relocating to the cities, from the coastal areas, crime in general is going to be a lot worse around here, no matter what. Okay. So I believe you. What things? The things are going to get that bad. Won't they get that bad everywhere? To somewhat, but the people in the country are more self-sufficient. They grow some or most or a lot of their food already. They don't believe everything the government tells them all the time. So up on supplies. So they're stocked up on supplies and have been adding more since the news of the asteroid was announced. Things will be safer out there than in the city, especially after so many people here start going hungry during the winter. If that's true, why are you still here? Because I want Kimberly to go to the Clark's place in Utah just in case they are right and Jake's place isn't safe enough. Monica exhaled heavily with exasperation. Kimberly won't go to Clark's on her own no matter what I tell her. She wants to watch over me. I don't want to go there and be a fifth wheel. I think that I should be safe enough at Jake's with all the improvements the town has done, thanks to Michael's suggestions. That's rich, Susan chuckled. Kimberly watching over you. Hey, she's a crack shot with either hand, shoots bows and arrows, throws knives like Lee Christmas, and is a third level instructor in Jeet Kune Do. Heck, she could probably take on all the Expendables. Susan gave her a sarcastic look and a smirk. We can watch the video of her later. Right now, you need to think of where you can go that's away from the city. Could I stay with you? Susan asked, humbly looking down at the floor. I would like to say yes, but it's not up to me. It's up to Jake, right? Yes, it is. Could you put in a good word for me? We need to see what we can get in the way of supplies first. Okay, where do we start? We need a big truck to pull a trailer with, and a big trailer. Yes, as big of a trailer that you can handle. 3 hours later, with Monica's help, Susan had a truck and trailer. Sorry, just snacking here. Susan had gone full hog and bought one of the one of the 4 F-650 trailer haulers the dealership had. It was a 4x4 super crew cab with 207-gallon tanks with a super truck 8-door aluminum hauler body with a fifth wheel setup. At the trailer dealership, she picked out a triaxle 38-foot fifth wheel race car trailer with an 8-foot deck over the fifth wheel. Monica wasn't sure about her getting such a huge trailer and expressed her concern. That's when Susan shared a bit of her teenage years with Monica that she hadn't ever talked about. She had spent 3 summers during high school on her best friend's family ranch. She had learned to drive a tractor and an old 1972 International 4300 semi truck and pulled 40-foot and 20-foot flatbed trailers loaded high with hay. Susan insisted that the 30-foot race car trailer would not be as difficult as one of those she pulled with the hay on them. So after Susan had purchased a truck and trailer, they headed out to Harbor Freight, picked up a pallet jack. Then they went to Honeyville Farms, and Susan bought every pallet of grain, beans, and oats they had, and most of their cases of number 10 cans. Then they headed to Costco, where Susan gave the store manager 220s to be able to buy all of the palletized rice and beans they had. She also bought 12 pallets of toilet paper and 6 pallets of paper towels. It was 2:40. It was 2:45, and they were headed back to Susan's home. Well, hang on, I put a comma in there. Well, you now have over 5 years worth of food, toilet paper, and 7 years worth of sanitary products. Now we need to get most of your money converted into gold and silver, Monica said. Still not sure that was a good idea. She wants to change that. When the cities fall apart through the winter and spring, the whole economy, stocks, bonds, and banking are going to go in the toilet. You'll lose everything unless you have it with you in gold and silver. Paper money won't be worth much at all for a long time. Susan pursed her lips as she thought about what Monica had said. Well, that does make a lot of sense. She took a deep breath and blew it out. Let's do it. You may also think about selling your home while you can. If the city hasn't burned down with rioters and whatnot, you can probably buy it back at half the price. Are you sure? When the grid goes down, there will be when the grid goes down, and if there is a fire in this neighborhood, the whole area will be a firestorm. Everything will be burnt to the ground. That's why I finally sold mine. All right, give me a couple of minutes to check my request. Janet and Benjamin finished building the pole barn off the side of one of the cargo containers for the horses, and they were breaking for lunch when they heard a truck engine through the trees. Sounds like the horses are here, Janet said with a sigh. Lunch will be postponed. Yep, was all Benjamin said as he got up from the chair at the kitchen table. An hour later, they sat back down back down at the kitchen table. In fact, back at the kitchen table. Sat back down at the kitchen table, and finally were eating their lunch of homemade bread from the bread machine and leftover taco soup from the night before. That's a little bit better. Tomorrow we need to start insulating the container between the rabbits and the chickens. Have you figured out what you're going to do? Pretty much. Hang on. Gnat just flew in my eye. Pretty much. I was thinking about putting a wall down the middle of the cargo container, leaving a 3-foot wide hallway on the one side for us to use, then dividing the other side into thirds. The last third would be for the chickens, the middle third for the rabbits, and the first third would be for the feed storage and the small potbelly stove. We can run the stovepipe from the front to back at a 5 to 10 degree angle, and it'll extend through the end wall. That will allow us to have 2 fires a day, one in the morning and one at night. With the stove battened down, it'll burn for 8 hours and burn for about 8 hours and keep the critters warm through the winter. Benjamin said, "Do you think that little potbelly stove will hold enough wood to burn hot enough all night?" If we stoke it just right, it should. It should. But I was thinking about going on to Flagstaff Monday and getting a load of coal. That should burn hot enough to keep the container warm and last all night. Janet sucked her lips and slowly nodded as she digested Benjamin's idea. After several seconds, she spoke. "What about the pigs?" Still working out the details. Michael was driving as Kimberly was using the GPS tracking app on Monica's phone to guide them to her. They were just topped off the gas tank. "She's been moving all over the place," Kimberly said. "I hope she still has her phone." "It's a good thing you got that second phone for work," Michael commented. But that was next level sneaky, cloning the tracking app onto the work phone and leaving your other phone at Jake's place just in case she tries to check on your location. "Thanks, I hope it works." It should, since she doesn't have this phone's info. "So what's she doing?" Her phone spent some time at the Ford dealership and then at a tractor dealership. Then it went back to Susan's house, then to Harbor Freight, Honeyville Farms, and then to Costco. Now it's headed back in the direction of Susan's house. So I'm thinking that it is her. Got to stay hydrated, everybody. You know what? Actually, I'm going to change that here. So yeah, there it's bigger now. All right. Now you guys can see it better. Good. We'll be there in about 15 minutes, Michael said. Hopefully they don't head back out right away. Susan backed the trailer into her driveway which ran alongside her house to the garage, which sat by the back corner of the house. Once it was parked, Monica put the padlocks they had bought at Harbor Freight on the trailer doors. Then they got into Monica's F-350 and pulled out to go to several of the gold and silver exchanges. They had 3 on Monica's list, which Michael had made several weeks earlier, that were nearby. Yeah, that's good. It wants to do it clean up. That were nearby. Monica said they needed to get to them before lunch. They arrived at the first exchange just as an armored van was pulling away. They parked Monica's F-650 and went inside the exchange. Once inside, Monica spotted the person who had helped her here before. Justin, she called out. How are you doing? Mrs. Jackson, he smiled broadly. I'm doing great. And yourself? Here to get as much as you'll sell us. You're in luck. We just got a shipment in. She's turning into that shopping center 2 blocks up on the right, Kimberly said. Got it, Michael responded, then added, I think there's a gold exchange around here. That would fit in with the truck and trailer we saw at Susan's house, Kimberly said, as she tried to make sense of what was going on with the GPS signal of her mother's phone. Yes, it would if your mother was able to convince Susan to get out of the city. I hope that is what's going on, Kimberly whispered to herself. Ugh, Michael complained as the light turned red. We'll catch up to them soon enough. Soon enough. Yeah. If the exchange is open for BUSINE, open for it's still, wait a minute, that still doesn't sound good. It's still in business, and if that's where they're going, that sounds better. If the exchange is still in business, and if that's where they're going. Justin blinked and did a double take when Susan said how much she wanted to convert to gold and silver. Did you want that delivered, or did you want to pick it up here tomorrow? Can you deliver it? Yes, we can. 11 o'clock a.m. tomorrow. Delivery would be most appreciated, Susan said politely. And 11 o'clock tomorrow tomorrow morning would be perfect. Good, let's get the paperwork done. They just completed the paperwork, and Justin had scheduled delivery when 5 men in masks stormed through the door of the gold exchange and shouting and waving guns around. 2 of them went straight for the security guard, who panicked and froze for a couple seconds. That was all they needed to be on top of him and disarm him. They quickly put zip cuffs on him. Cuffs on him. If we have to shoot anyone for being stupid, then everyone gets shot. One of the masked men shouted before he suddenly went limp and fell to the floor. At the same time, the 2 that were securing the security guard went down. They were followed immediately by the other 2 that were covering the gold exchange staff and customers. The gold exchange staff and customers stared in disbelief at the two archers standing in the doorway. Kimberly, Monica asked, very puzzled, how'd you get here? Michael moved to the security guard, pulled out a knife, and quickly cut the zip cuffs holding him. Get their zip cuffs from them and secure them quickly, he barked at the dumbfounded security guard. And then kicked his foot a little to move him into action. Now! The guard blinked and then quickly went into action, putting zip cuffs on the two that had cuffed him previously. Then he moved on to the other masked men. Call the police and tell them that you have 5 would-be robbers in custody, that they need medical attention, Kimberly shouted to the staff in general as she walked over to her mom. What are you doing? Kimberly asked her mom in the most annoyed voice she could muster up. I was helping Susan get supplies and convert her money to gold so she could come to Jake's. Kimberly shook her head. This is what we've been warning you about. Now, are you going to get out of the city? In the morning, her gold is being delivered at 11 o'clock, and then we're out of here. Kimberly groaned in frustration. Fine. I'm going to go deal with the police. She turned and stalked away. A couple minutes later, Kimberly was leaning against the front of the robbers' pickup truck that they had backed up to the door of the gold exchange when the police arrived with several patrol cars screeching into the parking lot. They bailed out of the cars with the guns drawn. Hey, officers, take it easy. The bad guys are inside in custody. Where are the paramedics? The bad guys are hurting pretty bad after taking one of these to the head. She held up one of the blunt-tipped arrows. One of the officers broke ranks and walked forward as he holstered his pistol. Kimberly Jackson? Hey, fancy meeting you here, she said to him. She recognized him as one of the officers from the Arizona Mills jewelry store robbery. It seems you can't help but be helpful. Well, my mom was inside and I wasn't going to let these scumballs hurt her, Kimberly said. Seeing several of the other officers still eyeing her, we're still eyeing her. Okay, hang on. Still had their weapons out and were eyeing her suspiciously. She held out her arms to the officer she was talking to for a hug. He blinked and gave her a hug. Your team is nervous about me. She said S.O. softly to him. Hang on. Boom. Michael is inside guarding the 5 robbers. Thanks. He turned to the officers. This is Kimberly Jackson. She's helped us before. Her boyfriend is guarding the suspects inside. Get the paramedics inside as soon as they arrive. As they walked into the gold exchange, the officer asked, what happened to your eye? It's super sensitive to light. It happened in junior high. I usually wear the special sunglasses I had on at the mall. Oh, I'm sorry if I caused you any discomfort. Don't worry about it. I'm just glad you cared enough to ask. She smiled at him. Three officers had hurried around them and entered the exchange first and were searching the robbers for other weapons, ID, and checking their condition. As soon as the paramedics arrived, they were working on the robbers. One of the officers came up to Kimberly and asked for her bow because it was used in a robbery. No, you may not have it because it was not used in a robbery. It was used to stop a robbery, and it's not evidence of the robbery. But if you want the 5 blunt tip arrows, those we'll let you have, but you're not taking the bow. But you do not need the bows to build a case against the robbers. The officer blinked in surprise and started to object. She's right, Officer Copa. A detective said as he walked up, we don't need the bows. We really don't need the arrows, but if she's willing to let us have the arrows, then we will use those to show they were using non-lethal force to stop the robbery. Oh, okay, Officer Copa said. The detective turned to Kimberly and studied for a moment. He was about to speak when she cut him off. How old is your daughter? The detective blinked and laughed. She's 12. How'd you know? The way you were looking at you. She's made you watch the videos, hasn't she? Yes, she has. You and your fiance are quite good. He paused. And why did you intervene? Kimberly turned and pointed to Monica. Because my mom was in here and I couldn't trust that the security guard could protect her, or the robbers just wouldn't kill everybody. Michael and I were their only hope. We caught them by surprise right off the bat. Did your officers have done as good? No, probably not, but you're not trained for taking down robbers. You were very lucky no one got killed. Kimberly laughed. Sorry, but you're wrong. There was no luck involved. She looked hard into the detective's eyes. How many hours a month do you spend on the gun range each month? 3 hours. We spend 3 times that much daily at the gun range, the archery range, and doing PT and 10-mile runs. Who's better trained? But just go look at the CCTV first, and then we'll sign autographs. Then we'll sign an autograph for your daughter. Kimberly smiled sweetly. I'll be back. Don't go anywhere. Can you get a copy? Can you get a copy for us? She asked. Five minutes later, the detective and several officers came over to the table where Kimberly, Michael, and Monica and Susan sat. Their faces were slightly ashen, and their eyes still bugging out a little. The detective stopped in front of Kimberly and stared at her for several seconds before he spoke. 9 hours a day, huh? No wonder they didn't know what happened. I wouldn't have believed anyone could shoot that fast and still be accurate. Google Lars Anderson, a new level of archery. Someday we hope to be as good as him. What's that name? The officer that first talked to Kimberly outside. Lars Anderson. That's Lars. He's the best. But you're still great, the detective countered. Kimberly blushed. Are you kidding? Another officer said. My daughter does archery. I've never seen anything like you two. Can I get your autograph? Davis, the detective said softly, don't. Michael slid over a half dozen pieces of paper that read, to our friends at the Tempe Police Department, thank you for all you do and your support. Kimberly Jackson, the real life Gina Juby Chan, the Ninja Girl. Michael Moore, Archer the Super Scout. And they were signed. Can we go now? Monica asked. The officer looked over at, the detective looked over at the officer that dealt with Michael and Kimberly at the Arizona Mills Mall. I have all of their information. You can go. We'll probably need you to talk to you later before the trial. What if they confess? You know, what if they confess? Well, they confess and plead guilty, they won't need to testify. Kimberly got up and walked over to where the robbers were being questioned. Officers, I need to talk to these guys alone for a minute. The officers looked over the detective, who nodded back at them. They stepped away. They stepped away slowly. And Kimberly pulled out her big Kindle and played a compilation video of her martial art matches and the archery demos that April had made for her. As they watched, several of them winched as she landed blows or broke the blocks. When it was over, she launched into the double backflip and landed in the splits, pulling herself back up to standing position with her legs only. She spoke quietly and sternly to the robbers. I really don't want to have to testify at your trial. It would make me very upset if I had to. I think it would be best for you to confess and cut a plea deal. Don't you? Because if I have to come back here to testify, well, use your imagination. I want to turn state's evidence, one of the robbers shouted. Another joined in quickly. The detective ran over and pulled, pulled the robber that shouted first off to the side. Then the officer from the mall came up to Kimberly and asked, "What did you show them?" She handed him the Kindle and tapped play. I told him it would make me really upset if I had to testify. About 15 seconds into the video, he started laughing and handed it back. He gave her business card and a DVD. You can go, he smiled. Take care now, Miss Jackson. Thank you, Semper Fi. Hoorah. Michael and Kimberly followed Monica and Susan back to Susan's house. They had parked Kimberly. When they had parked, Kimberly shot from the Jeep and stormed over to Monica's F-350 and stood breathing hard and fast by her door. When Monica opened the door, Kimberly shouted, "Ah, I don't know whether to hug you or smack you. What were you thinking? You knew that it was dangerous here. You could have been killed today." "You're right. I should have pushed Susan to come with us sooner. Come with us earlier." Monica looked down. "I'm sorry I put you through all this. It's my fault we were so late at the gold exchange," Susan said. "No, it's hers for not staying out of Tempe after Wednesday. We had discussed this and she knew better," Kimberly fumed. If the gold is being delivered at 11 tomorrow, then we'll be back by then. We have to get back to Jake's for the community meeting tonight. Lock the vehicles, get inside, lock the house," Michael said softly. "And stay there," Kimberly barked. "I really don't want to have to go on a killing spree because you got hurt down here." She turned. "Just so you know," she was freaking out on the way back here from the gold exchange. She was crying 1 minute and screaming the next and cussing the next, screaming and cussing the next. She was a basket case Wednesday afternoon. And mostly yesterday morning. She said that gaining a husband is not worth losing her last parent. Michael turned and walked away, turned and walked back towards the Jeep. Lock all doors and windows as soon as you go inside, and keep your pistol with you. He called back over his shoulder, even in the shower. Michael waited for Monica and Susan to go inside before he backed the Jeep out of the driveway. We have just enough time to get to Alpine and make the meeting. Good, Kimberly groused. Michael and Kimberly arrived at Alpine about 30 minutes before the meeting was to start. They noticed that the roadblock checkpoint was gone. There were a couple of pickups and a dump trailer with a pop-up canopy over it at the same spot. And they could tell that those in the trailer were taking pictures of the cars that drove past. I wonder what happened to the roadblock, Kimberly asked. Probably were told to take it down by the highway patrol, Michael responded. Whew. We'll find out when we see Jake. Oh, come on. There we go. Get the goop out of my eyes. All right. All right. Where was I? All right. Okay. They pulled up into Jake's driveway as he was coming out of the front door with several other of the relatives. Jake came quickly down the steps and went straight to Kimberly as she was getting out of the Jeep and hugged her. I'm glad you're all right, he said as he released her from his hug. He took a half step back and put his hands on her shoulders. Your mother called and told us what happened. Did she ask you about her friend staying here? Kimberly asked with a bit of anger in her voice. Yes, she did, Jake sighed and gave Kimberly another hug. Tell me what happened. No, you tell me what happened. Ugh. We have 3 here. I'd rather not talk about it right now. I already ranted to Michael for the last several hours about it. Your mother said you were mad about what she did. We can talk about it later. I want to know, really. Kimberly nodded as she stepped back from Jake, but her face was tight and her brow furrowed. Jake, Michael spoke up. What happened with the checkpoint? The highway patrol said we had to take it down. That's one of the first things we're going to discuss at the meeting. We're on our way over there to help set up the chairs. We'll follow you over and lend a hand too, Michael said as he opened his door back up. The room for the sore muscles. The room for the meeting at the community center was filling up fast as the start time got closer. Jake mentioned in attendance yet. Michael and Kimberly sat in the front row of chairs along the side wall with Jake's family. Jake was seated with several others behind the two tables at the front of the room. Michael was busy compiling the cell phone video he and Kimberly took outside the gold exchange when the robbers arrived, and the CCTV footage that Justin had given him on the thumb drive, besides the DVD that the police gave him. He wanted to show the citizens of Alpine what had happened, and that it was only going to get worse. He had shown the footage separately to Jake, and he agreed that it would help get the point across. When hang on, I need to go ahead and change that to make it flow better. Yeah. Michael had shown the footage separately to Jake, and he agreed that it would get the point across. Yeah. When the meeting was called to order, the chairman asked someone named Richard to give him an update on the checkpoints. He said until they get the sheriff to authorize them putting up roadblocks, the highway patrol would continue to order them to remove them. The sheriff was not yet ready to authorize the blockades just yet, but said if there were mass evacuations from the Phoenix Tempe Mesa area, he would. He said that the materials could be staged off the materials could be staged off the road on the shoulder. Hang on, let me see if I make that sound better. Could be staged off on the shoulder of the road. Yeah, that sounds a little bit better to me. But not within 15 feet of the roadway. Someone raised their hand and asked if it was really necessary to block the roads. Jake responded to her saying that other areas were already experiencing trouble with looters and rioters, and not just in the cities, but in the outlying areas. In the Midwest, several farms have been attacked by gangs looking for stored food to take back to the cities. He also said there are reports of groups from the cities heading out to the rural areas and squatting on farmlands, and that it had been violent confrontations when they were removed. Someone blurted out, but that was back east where they have that sort of problems, not here in Arizona. Several others voiced their agreement. That was when Kimberly lost her patience and shouted, "Bull crap! We just had to stop an armed robbery to save my mother and her friend." Gasps and murmurs came from the entire room. Jake looked at hang on. I got to fix something back here earlier. I just realized I made a mistake here. No, I guess I really didn't make a mistake, but I could make this a little bit more thing. This on his LAPT on his laptop. There we go. was on his laptop. Yeah, all right. So he's on his laptop compiling it, and now down here, Jake looked at Michael and nodded. Michael stepped up and set his laptop up on the table in front of Jake. Jake hooked it up to the overhead projector. If someone could get the lights, I'll play a video of that robbery, Jake said. Someone quickly jumped up and went to the light switches and turned off the lights. Then Jake started the video. I know. I just remembered I need to do what I did in a couple of the other ones for video stuff like this. So I need to take this and highlight this. There we go. And put that as bold. There we go. Okay, I have the truck recorded. Are you sure something's wrong? Kimberly's voice came from the speakers. Yeah, it's not in a parking. That's not a parking space. They're too close to the Gold Exchange's door. Something's going on. Michael's voice on the on this. Okay, on the screen, comma. That's what sounded weird. On the screen, the doors to the pickup opened up, and 5 masked men got out and headed towards the exchange's door. Let's go, Michael shouted. The video bounced as Kimberly got out from the passenger seat, moved to the back of the Jeep. They showed her opening the bow case. They haven't gone in yet, Michael said. Here, use these arrows. The video bounced around more as she closed the back door and started running across the parking lot towards the masked men. They're going in. I'm putting the phone away. The image shook violently and went dark as the phone went into Kimberly's pocket. Then the video showed the CCTV image of the front door and part of the parking lot. It showed the robbers' pickup truck backing up to the hashed out area for the handicap parking space. Then after several seconds, it showed the 5 robbers getting out and making their way towards the exchange's front door. They paused there. Change to make it a little bit longer. So for about 6 seconds, then they yanked the door open and hurried inside. Then a couple seconds later, Michael and Kimberly approached the door, bows and arrows in hand. They paused for a second, and Michael opened the door, and Kimberly went in first. The image flashed and changed to an interior camera that was mounted high on the wall in the corner opposite the door. It showed the 5 masked men come through the door. There was no sound, but from the way that they were waving their guns around, their intent was easy to follow. 2 of the robbers captured the security guard and put zip cuffs on him. Kimberly and Michael entered and immediately shot. Kimberly shot what appeared to be the leader. Michael shot 2 arrows once at the 2 that were subduing the security guard at the same time. Then Kimberly shot the masked man to her left, and Michael shot the one to her right. All shots were to the back of the head with large blunt tip arrows. The impact knocked the masked man out instantly. Michael moved to the security guard and freed him. The guard got up after a couple seconds and started putting zip cuffs on the masked men. Then the video stopped. Lights, please, Jake called out. the moment someone turned on the lights. That was the second armed robbery we helped foil. The first was in the Arizona Mill Mall. Kimberly walked to the center of the front of the room. The gangs are hitting jewelry stores and precious metal stores. They know things are going to get bad or get tough. Next week, or maybe as soon as this weekend, there's going to be reports of food stores being hit. Costco, Sam Club, supermarkets. Late next week, I bet they'll be hitting delivery trucks. They know that deliveries will be interrupted when the asteroid arrives. That will cause a chain reaction in all deliveries. I wouldn't be surprised to hear about gangs hijacking a gas truck tanker or two. Right. Diesel fuel can be burned in kerosene heaters, Michael added. It's almost the same thing. When do you believe things will really get bad? Someone blurted out. In Phoenix or here, Michael responded. Which day or week? That would be very hard to predict. By Halloween, some areas very bad, others not so much. It'll depend where you are. By Thanksgiving, a whole lot more, also depending on where you are. By Christmas, even here you may be seeing looters. That is if the power grid is still up. As soon as the power grid goes down, that'll speed things up exponentially by a factor of 10 or 20. We don't have any idea how that'll go down. There are too many variables to guess on when or how that'll happen, but it will happen. In any case, by Groundhog Day, it's going to be a war zone in every city over 100,000 people, over 100,000. In the areas around the cities. Think Fear the Walking Dead. But instead of zombies, it'll be fast-moving cannibals. Everyone gasped. Kimberly spoke up again. Then there are the reports that there are a lot smaller asteroids that were knocked or pulled out of the asteroid belt and are heading towards Earth as well. If any of significant size hits the Earth, it could turn everything upside down immediately. The power grid is so fragile that if anything, anything happens to one part of the grid, suddenly it could cause a cascade collapse of a big portion of it. If several sections were to be damaged within an hour, it could bring the entire grid down. Damn. Oh, why my eyes starting watering again here? There we go, I think. Could cause a cascade collapse in a big portion of it. If several sections were to be damaged within an hour, that could bring the entire grid down. If enough big transformers get damaged by power surges, we won't get the grid back up for decades. Oh, and all the transformers are now made in Europe. They have been for years. Once the grid goes down, the experts are looking at an 85 to 92% death rate in the first 18 months. Again, the room gas. You all know that there are a lot of oil platforms in the Gulf. Okay, hang on. I got to update this from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. In the Gulf of America, with the tidal waves, I wanted to bet that all of them will be gone or too damaged to be repaired. They will have to build new platforms to get the oil flowing again. That will take that would hang on. That would take months to do, or months or years to do currently, but with the grid down, decades. So how well do you think the country will do without enough fuel? So how well do you think the country will do without enough fuel to run farm equipment, fuel to power and run factories, fuel for trucks who deliver products and produce? Oh, shit. Okay. All right. Hang on. I'll be back. I gotta go watch. I know a gnat flew into one, but they're both burning right now, so I'll be back in a minute. Oh, much better. Yeah, the humidity is down. All right, it's down to 34 in here, so I got to go boil a pot of water on the stove or something here after I get done here. But it's just so drying out. The moisture in my eyes are drying and turning to gunk, and so my eyes start to tear up some to try to get the gunk out, and then it gets to the corner of my eyes, and then it starts drying into those little crystals that start poking and hurting. So that's what's going on that. So how well do you think the country do without enough fuel to run farm equipment? Fuel to power, fuel to make power. Hang on, that's what I'm missing there. Comma, to run factories, fuel for trucks to deliver products and produce, Michael asked. Well, Kimberly asked, anyone? She sighed. No one has any ideas? One person raised their hand. Without trucks to deliver what the farmers can grow to the cities, everyone there will die. And without fuel, farmers won't grow that much. What else? With a massive with a massive shortage of food, thousands will starve. No, millions, Michael spoke up. Not just in the cities, but the suburbs as well. Jake spoke up, unless they head to the countryside to get food from those who grow their own. You mean us, someone said in a panic. Exactly, Kimberly said. So you need to be ready when when that happens. Now, since the Highway Patrol won't let you block the roads yet, you need to be ready to do so at a moment's notice. Once things progress to the point you need to monitor all the news networks and alternative news sites as well. If asteroids start falling, you need to block the road way outside of town, like 10 miles or more, and really block it. I'd make the furthest blockades look like nature did it. Trees, landslides, that sort of thing. Once you get a bunch of minivans and cars stacked up, the four-wheel drive trucks, the four-wheel drive vehicles, okay. There we go. We'll have a tougher time getting around the blockades. I know it's a hardcore choice to make, but who do you want to survive? Your family or the unprepared idiots from unprepared people from the cities? So we have a lot of things to consider, and we need to start making plans for multiple scenarios. Good, you're getting it. Good, Kimberly smiled. You're getting it. Can you stay and help us out for several days? We'll talk about it later, Kimberly said. They would. Tomorrow we're heading back to Tempe to do an armed extraction. More gasps. All right, 16. Signs. October 10th and 11th, Saturday morning, October 10th. Hang on, I got to put it on here. Comma. 2037. There we go. Hang on, what did I do on the previous one? Okay, let me switch this up here. There we go. Michael's cell phone alarm went off at 04:30. He groaned as he reached over and turned off the alarm. Michael sat up in bed, stretched, and swung his feet out of the bed. Swung his feet out of the bed and stood up. You've got to change that alarm tone once we're married, Kimberly hollered from the other bedroom. Well, then you can change it tonight before we go to bed. We still have to get married first, Kimberly sang out. That's not what I meant, Michael retorted and pulled on his camel cargo pants. Oh, nope, I'm going to change that right there. Pulled on his Marine Corps combat utility uniform pants. I know, Kimberly giggled. You know, she snickered. My mom might still think that we did it when she took off. Don't go there, Michael barked and bent over to tie his combat boots. She might be expecting us to be sleeping together, Kimberly said. I want to get her here big time so I can tease her. Let's get running then. I'll be ready in a minute. Jake stepped out on the porch to start his daily chores with the milk cows and looked over at the small barn. He saw Michael and Kimberly sparring. He shook his head and wondered what time they got up to their run if they're already done and doing sparring. He headed over to the big barn thinking, yeah, we have to get a fitness program going. When Jake came out of the barn, he noticed that the Jeep was gone. When he got to the house, he saw Jennifer sitting on the porch, her elbows on her knees and her chin on her hands, pouting. What's wrong? Michael and Kimberly already gone, she huffed. I wanted to watch them. Jake chuckled to himself. They want to get back to Tempe by 10 o'clock to help her mom move her friend up here. It takes 4 hours to get there and about 5 to get back with a trailer because they can't go uphill as fast. So what time will they be getting back? Jake cocked his head, figured out they wanted to leave by 11:30, so that should put them up here by 4:30, unless they had to stop to fuel up and if they stopped for a bite to eat. I wouldn't be worried if they were as late as 5 o'clock. Oh, that late. I'm going to see if she and Michael can stay for several more days to help us get ready to protect ourselves from the city refugees from the asteroid. Huh? We'll have a family meeting about it tonight and explain everything then. Okay, Jennifer said, turning to go back in the house. As she went in, Kelly came out. Oh, hang on a second. Kelly came out. Let me grab one of these over here. Yeah, I keep a bunch of these here because my glasses get oily and stuff. My mom used to give me a bad time because it was a teasing bad time. She goes, "There's no reason why a boy should have nice long. Yours are really long." And she'd pout about it because she wanted long eyelashes. You know, she had to wear the false eyelashes and stuff. And so my eyelashes rub against the glasses all the time and transfer oil to them, and they get hard to see through. Ugh. Sometimes I forget to clean them before the live stream. Let's see. Yeah, that's a bit cleaner. Now I can see a little bit better. She went in, Kelly came out. Hey, sweetheart, I just heard on the news that the asteroid will pass halfway between the Earth and the Moon, Kelly reported to her husband. Just like Kimberly and Michael said, they got it right again. How do those two how they got it right again? How do those two know all of this stuff? Monica and Susan were up early hauling Susan's belongings, that's on there, out to her new truck and trailer. They had spent the night putting the things that Susan wanted to take to Jake's in the living room. Monica was surprised how little Susan really had and how little she wanted to take. Susan was interested in a few family mementos that she'd been able to keep since she was in college and her cooking items. She said she would get proper clothes she needed at Walmart in Sholo, which was on the way to Jake's. By 8:30, they had just about everything that Susan wanted to take loaded up in the back seat of the F-750 and the last 2 feet of the trailer. The rest of her stuff, bedding, linens, were in the camper shell. were in the camper shell in the bed of Monica's F-350. Monica had texted Douglas at the gun shop and told him that they had one more person joining their group before they headed out to their bug out location. He texted back saying he would be at the shop at 8:45. Susan had never owned a gun in her life. Not that she didn't believe in him. She had shot 22s at her friend's ranch during her summer stays there. She just never got around to getting one of her own and getting trained and getting the training she needed to use it. Now, with Monica's help, she was going to get one. Susan and Monica arrived at the gun shop just as Douglas was opening the front door. Monica parked her pickup, and she and Susan hurried over to the door where Douglas was waiting for them. They entered the shop, and Douglas locked the door behind them and told them to head to the back room. As they walked in the back room, Monica introduced Susan and said that she needed a common round platform for pistols and rifle. Douglas said he had just the thing for them. When they were in the back room, he pulled out a Glock G29 SF and set it on the table. He pulled out a carbine rifle and set it next to it. This is the High Point 1095 10 millimeter cartridge rifle. It shoots the same rounds as the pistol, both 10 millimeter and Smith & Wesson 40 caliber. This will give you more flexibility for ammunition and the same basic ammunition that more flexibility for ammunition and the same. I don't know. It doesn't sound. I'm going to try to figure out how it doesn't flow right. They give you I don't want to use flexibility. I want to take flexibility out of there. More commonality for ammunition. Being that it is being that it's the same ammunition as Monica's and the rest of the group. There we go. All right, got that sentence to sound right. Someone else is in here. Hi. All right. Monica told me all about what they have, and I think that this is perfect. I'll take 2 pistols and 2 rifles. And I'll take 2 of the rifles for me and Kimberly if I can. I'd like to get 3 for the Clarks and several cases of 10 millimeter and 40 cap, and several more cases of 10 millimeter and 40 caliber ammunition. Do they know about it? Not yet. It's sort of a surprise housewarming gift. Douglas chuckled. I still have their ammunition. I'll write it up. The cases are 1,000 rounds each. How many do you want? 10 cases of the 10 millimeter and 20 of the 40 caliber. Kimberly and Michael burned through a lot last week at T9 Tactics. Monica sighed. They want more for practice at the practicing at the cabin. I saw some of the YouTube videos kids were posting of her on the range. She's getting very good. They were posting videos of her on the range, Monica asked in shock. Yeah, it kind of sucks to be a celebrity at times, Susan sympathized. Well, they don't know where we're going, I hope. Susan spoke to Douglas. I think I should get several cases of each as well. All right, what about extra magazines? How many do you have? Well, High Point only has 10-round magazines, and then there's no aftermarket high-capacity ones made. We stock more so you don't have to stop at the range to reload magazines. Douglas spoke. He walked over to where the High Point magazines were kept. We have 38 of them. We have 38 of them. We'll take them all, Susan quickly said. All right. For the Glock, do you want stock or high-capacity magazines? Susan thought for a second. How big are the stock magazines? 10 rounds. And the high-capacity, 15. I don't have any of the 30-round magazines because I don't know how good they are. How about 10 stock magazines and 20 high-capacity magazines for the Glock, Susan said. Nice mix. I'll get them up and tally everything up. Oh, I almost forgot. Suppressors, Monica said simply. Well, he turned around and pulled out a 5.5-inch threaded barrel for the Glock with a suppressor. This is the same as yours. He set them on the table. We don't have any for the High Point. Well, we got a bunch of these. He pulled out a box and opened it up. These are adapters for the High Point. They screw on and you screw and you use an oil filter as a suppressor. The bigger the filter, the better and longer it'll last. Just spray a couple of squirts of Windex on the threads to dampen the insides before you attach it to the adapter. It helps keeps the filter paper from catching fire from any unburnt gunpowder that comes out of the barrel. Do you have any that fit the Glocks? Yes, we do. We'll take a dozen of each, Monica said. We can use them for practicing and save the good suppressors for combat. That's a good idea, Douglas said as he counted out adapters. By 9:30, they had everything loaded up in pickups and were heading back to Susan's house. On the way, Susan spotted a bulk ammunition dealer and asked Monica to stop so they get more ammunition. She said that when she was at her cousin's for the summers, they shot up a lot of ammunition just screwing around shooting. Monica agreed, and they picked up 15 more cases of Smith & Wesson 40 caliber. When they got back to Susan's house, Michael and Kimberly were there waiting for them. Monica backed up the driveway and parked alongside Susan's truck. And truck and trailer till she was at the garage. As soon as she opened the door, Monica held up her hands to stop Kimberly from going off on her. Before you yell at me, I have a present for you. I have to give you a present. What? Kimberly asked, puzzled. We went to see Douglas at the gun shop and get Susan a pistol and rifle. She answered. She walked around to the back of the F-350 and unlocked the camper shell and dropped the tailgate. She pulled out one of the long boxes out and opened it up. It's a high point 10 millimeter carbine rifle with a threaded barrel. This is an adapter to use an oil filter as a suppressor. Susan handed one of the filters they had picked up at the auto parts store down the street. Monica threaded the adapter onto the high point carbine and then the auto filter onto the adapter. That looks sick, Kimberly smiled. Monica dropped the magazine out and handed the carbine to Kimberly. Douglas said to spray a couple shots of Windex to dampen the paper so it doesn't catch fire from the unburnt gunpowder. As she opened the box ammunition to load the magazine. Spin it off, Michael said. I'll take care of that. Kimberly spun the filter off and handed it to Michael while Monica loaded the magazine with 10 rounds of 40 caliber ammunition. Michael walked up the driveway to the Jeep, which was parked in front of Susan's F650. Opened the back up, reached inside, and pulled out a can of CRC 553 and sprayed a little on the threads of the filter. He put the can back and grabbed the spray bottle of Windex and turned to tip the spray and placed it against the hole and gave it three squeezes. Gave 3 squeezes of the trigger. He turned the tip back to off and put the spray bottle back in the box of supplies for the Jeep, and closed the back end. He walked up the driveway back to Monica's truck and handed the filter to Kimberly. Kimberly took the filter and said, "Show him," to Susan. Susan held out her smartphone to Michael and tapped the play icon. Michael took the phone and watched a video. When it showed the adapter, showed the adapter with a filter size. What the heck? Hang on, something got messed up here. Guys. Okay, there are some letters missing here. Oh man. Okay. When they showed the adapter with a filter the size of a thermos firing, and all I could hear was the slap of the slide. A huge grin grew on his face. We'll have to show this to Jake. It might give them advantage over large groups if they attack the town. Then he heard the slapping of the high point carbine as Kimberly test fired it into the ground behind the house. Wow, that is quiet, Monica said. Oh, holy cats and jammer kids, Michael said. That works great. It'll definitely help Jake. Kimberly started giggling. This is so cool. How many did you get? Susan got 2 for herself. I got 1 for each of you. Michael, and the Clarks, and myself. I got a dozen adapters for the high points in case any of them get damaged, and a dozen for the Glocks. We need to see if we can get some for the car 15s on the way out of town, Michael said. Crap, I knew I forgot to ask about something. That's okay. We'll stop and get them and catch up to you. Susan, what's your cell number? Susan unconsciously pulled out her business card. I guess that's the last time I should be doing that. Kimberly looked at her watch. Michael, we have 45 minutes before Susan's gold shipment gets here. Go get the adapters for the cars and see if Douglas has no, don't want to, because Monica already got the barrels for her Colts. Hang on, let me change this around. And there we go. See if Douglas has some adapters for Mom's Colt pistols. Okay, but you get upstairs with a high point and a bunch of loaded magazines in case the delivery guys are being followed to the house. Got it. And you get back here before they get here, Kimberly said, and leaned over and kissed Michael quickly. Michael grabbed Kimberly's shoulder and held the kiss for a few seconds longer, then they go over shoulder. I'll be back soon. He turned and ran to his Jeep. Not soon enough, babe, Kimberly said softly. Janet was prepping the crock pot for a pot roast stew while Benjamin was researching ways to heat the pig pen, the horse pole barn, and the sheep's lean-to, and the cow's pole barn. Any luck? Janet called from the kitchen. I'm finding something that looks promising if I can figure out how to make it work. I'm sure you'll find a way to do it. I hope so. It'll help heat the cabin too if I can figure it out. Michael got back to Susan's house just as the armored van was pulling out of her driveway. He waited across the street to see if there was anyone watching the house. After a couple of minutes, he called Kimberly on her cell phone. Hey, hot, sexy ninja. Hey, super hot, sexy ninja. Where are you? Kimberly asked, worried. Watching you guys from across the street and down the block. I just wanted to make sure no one followed the courier. Oh, in that case, how's my super scout? Ready to hit the road if everybody's ready to go. Kimberly turned to her mom and put the phone on speaker. Are we ready to go? Is that Michael? Yeah, he's down the block watching for trouble. Lock the house? Monica asked Susan. Yep, it's locked. It's all locked up. The new owners know where the keys are. We can go when you give the word. Okay, Monica said. Okay, Monica led the. Okay, lead. Okay, Monica lead the way. Susan next. I'll bring up the rear. When you pull out, I'll swing around and pick up Kimberly after a minute to make sure you're not being followed. Sounds good, Monica said, and trotted into her truck. Susan climbed into hers. And lock your doors, Michael said quickly. I'll tell them. See you in a minute, Kimberly replied as she stepped over to Susan's truck. Susan rolled down the window. Michael said to lock the doors. Okay, she rolled the windows back up. Kimberly stepped to the side when Monica drove up. She told her the same thing. Monica pulled out with Susan following. When they passed Michael, he waited for them to get a couple blocks before he started up. He made sure that no one was following them. Then he pulled a U-turn into the entrance of the driveway and stopped long enough for Kimberly to hop in. Then he was off to catch up with Monica and Susan. It was 3:15 when they pulled into Jake's place in Alpine. Traffic had been light after they got out of Tempe Mesa metro area, and as heavily loaded as Susan's trailer was, the X650 with the Caterpillar 32.8 turbo diesel had no problem pulling it up the steep grades, heading towards Alpine. They stopped at Sholo Walmart to get Susan denim jeans. To get Susan jeans, denim and flannel shirts, winter coats, thermal underwear, heavy-duty socks, work boots, hiking shoes, and other items she would need that she didn't have already. She loaded up on flavor packets for water. She hated plain water because of the chemical taste, as well as vitamins and natural insect repellent. Monica and Susan pulled around by the small barn while Michael and Kimberly stopped at the house to talk to Jake and Kelly, his wife. Susan wanted to meet with just them before anyone else. She wanted to do it sooner rather than later. So Kimberly spoke to Kelly and told her what Susan wanted to do. Kelly said she'd get Jake and they would come out to the barn to talk to her in a little bit. When Kimberly and Michael got inside the barn, Susan and Monica were busy unloading weapons and ammunition from the back of Monica's F-350. There was a small pile just inside the door that consisted of 2 cases of Smith & Wesson 40 caliber ammunition, 1 case of 10 millimeter ammunition, 1 of the High Point 1095 carbines, that Susan had bought. On the other side of the door was a much bigger pile of ammunition cases, 5 of the 10 millimeter and 10 of the Smith & Wesson 40, 3 boxes of High Point 1095s on top. Another pile of ammunition was being made behind Monica's travel trailer. There were two more boxes of 1045s on top of the table next to the travel trailer, along with a box of High Point magazines and other items. Michael and Kimberly joined in with the unloading. As soon as her truck was unloaded, Monica pulled it out and Michael backed the Jeep in. She then had them load the big pile of ammunition cases and the 3 by the door into it. Monica told Michael that these were for the cabin just in case things got bad here, just in case things got as bad as he thought they would. Just in case things got as bad as he thought they would. She said if that were the case, she didn't want to waste time loading them up at the last minute if she had to make a run for it. The smaller pile that they put behind the trailer was for practice and was for practicing defense here at Jake's. Kimberly stood to the side looking at Susan's bed frames and box springs and mattress several long seconds before she spoke. Where are we going to set up Susan's bed up at? Susan and Monica looked at each other in panic. Then Kimberly and Michael, and then back at each other. You were planning on her sleeping in the trailer so that I would go back to the cabin with Michael, weren't you? Kimberly stated, more than asked her mother, as she faced her with arms crossed. Don't worry, Susan can have my bed in the trailer. Michael and I will borrow this and set it up in the loft for us tonight. Tomorrow we are going to go to the cabin. She turned and grabbed the bed frame parts and started for the stairs. And then we'll be back. Monica stood there looking at her daughter going up the stairs, not knowing what to say. Oh. Kimberly and Michael finished setting up Susan's bed and laying out their gear for sleeping at night up in the loft. They were talking about what to do about the situation with her mom. Then they heard Jake and Kelly coming across the yard with Jennifer and Tammy following them, chatting away. They headed down the stairs and called out that it sounded like Jake and Kelly were coming with a couple kids in tow. They were almost at the bottom of the stairs when there was a knock on the small door within the big barn door, and a shout from Jennifer calling for Kimberly. Monica smiled and opened the door and nearly got ran over by two 11-year-old girls running to see their cousin. Sorry, I should have shouted a warning, Jake said with a smile as he held the door open for Kelly. That's okay, Monica smiled back. You should see some of the girls trying to get her autograph. She rolled her eyes. You'd think she was NSYNC or the Backstreet Boys. Kelly blushed when Jake looked at her. When Monica said NSYNC. She had a very big crush on Justin Timberlake back in the day. I'm not going there, Jake whispered. Oh. Susan stepped up to the three of them. Jake, Kelly, this is my best friend, Susan. I would like her to stay with me in the barn. I can help out with supplies, Susan said quickly. How's that? Kelly asked suspiciously. My trailer is packed full of food and toilet paper. And I have gifts. Gifts? Jake and Kelly said together, right over here. She gestured to the folding table next to Monica's travel trailer. She and Monica had moved the high point and ammunition to the table while Kimberly and Michael were setting up the bed. There's 1,000 rounds of 10 millimeter and 2,000 rounds of Smith & Wesson 40 caliber. This is the high point 10 millimeter and shoots both calibers. This is an adapter for the threaded barrel. Michael jumped in, holding up one of the adapters. One adapter is walking over carrying Kimberly's high point carbine, which already had the adapter on it. You may have heard about this on the internet or not. In any case, it's really cool. He tossed the adapter to Jake and picked up an oil filter off the table and spun it on Kimberly's high point. Then he put it into the carbine and charged it. Michael pointed the carbine at the dirt floor of the barn and pulled the trigger rapidly. The only sound they heard was the slapping of the slide and the impacts of the slugs in the dirt. What the heck? You just fired a gun and then closed. What? There was no sound. That's right. Neat, huh? Jake held up his hand and looked at the adapter in it. We need more of these. All right, Sunday morning, October 11th. Michael and Kimberly were driving to the cabin to get more items before heading back to get some items before heading back to Jake's. She was using her hotspots to search the internet for combat strategy books and videos, physical training videos, tactical shooting videos, books, and videos and books and hang on, stuff's really messed up here. Dang, I swear somebody got in here and just moved stuff around. All right. Okay. Let me get rid of that. There we go. That works now. Anything that would help give the people of Alpine a fighting chance against any hordes that might attack them. Anything good? I got a couple good PDFs and 5 good tactical shooting videos and a bunch of videos on making booby traps. Like 30 so far. Dang, that's a lot. I'm trying to find more on combat tactics, battle maneuvers, and sniper hides. Well, you got 2 more hours before we get to the cabin, Michael chuckled. What? Kimberly gave him a leery look. I was just thinking, I would need 4 hours to get done what you've already gotten done. You're getting a hickey tonight. Janet and Benjamin were watching the president's address on the status of the evacuations and preparations for the asteroids. Good people of the United States of America, as we face the approaching asteroid, I would like to commend you all for your calm and orderly handling of the relocation of so many of our fellow citizens. Today, October 11th, FEMA has declared the evacuations are complete. Anyone in need of assistance in relocating to one of the many restored towns in the Midwest has been moved. Those that were going to relatives' homes and were in need of help were provided assistance in getting to their families outside of the projected flood zones. We know this has been hard on everyone, and I would like to thank all of you for your help and support in this great endeavor. I would especially like to thank our farmers who so fully embraced the experimental program this summer to help expand America's food production to try to ease world hunger. Fortunately for us, we did not have to ship the surplus that was produced through this program overseas, and we now have a stockpile that'll help feed those that have been relocated and are currently without employment for the next year. FEMA, the Department of Interior, Department of Agriculture have been working on a plan to reclaim evacuated lands once the flood waters have receded and the tides return to normal. The Department of Commerce is rolling out a plan to help small business owners who have been forced to relocate their businesses relocate to get their businesses up and going again as soon as possible. Whether it's in their new location or back at their original location once those areas have been reclaimed. I have ordered the IRS not to collect any taxes for this tax year from anyone who has relocated due to the asteroid. The idea for the following year. When I found out about the possible impact. Shoot, when I found out about the possible impact that the asteroid might have on our country, I ordered all funds being given to foreign countries stop and those funds be placed in a Rebuilding American account. Furthermore, I have Benjamin pause the satellite box. Somebody's coming up the driveway. Janet glanced quickly at her watch. Probably the kids. They were supposed to get here about now. She hopped up, made for the door, then stopped to put on the shoulder holster with the Glock subcompact G29SF and the Ruger 8-shot 57 revolver in its belt holster. It's just the kids. I don't go outside anymore about these after I ran into that coyote. Oh, you didn't tell me about that. Look, sorry. I didn't want Michael to find out and get all worried about me working up here by myself. And I wouldn't worry. No, because you know I don't repeat that kind of mistake. When she opened the door with one hand and tossed Benjamin the other Glock that was in the belt clip holster. And neither are you. Benjamin smiled and clipped the holster on. Okay, it's been 3 hours here. Let's see where we're at. Page 343. Chapter 17 starts at 3. So we got 9 pages to go. I'll read it a little bit longer here. Let's see, get back to 343 here. Three, four, four. All right. When Michael and Kimberly drove up, Janet and Benjamin were standing by the F450 in front of the garage. Even though Kimberly was smiling, Janet could tell she was more than just a little upset. She wasn't sitting up against Michael. She wasn't sitting up against Michael. She was over leaning against the passenger door. When Michael parked the Jeep, Janet went around to the passenger side, opened the door, and leaned in and hugged Kimberly tightly. What? Kimberly asked in surprise. You look like you need a hug. I'm a little upset at my mom. She went and brought her best friend to Jake's, so now I can't get her out of there because Susan has to stay there to be the people she doesn't really know. Well, Janet started slowly. What's your mother's best friend like? It's Susan, Michael interjected as he opened the back of the Jeep, the real estate agent that found the buyer for the house. She seems nice enough, Benjamin added. Do you like her? Janet asked Kimberly. She's all right. All right, hang here. What do we do here? Okay, hang on. I'll be right back. Okay, much better. She gave, she's all right. She gave Jake's family 2 pallets of rice and beans, 3,000 rounds of ammunition, a new high-powered carbine. Kimberly responded. Well, at least she pays her way. Pays her way. Yeah, but she ruined my plan to get my mom up here. Kimberly said, climbing out of the Jeep. Did she? Kimberly huffed. I guess Susan was just my mom's pawn to get me to stay here and let my mom stay there. Um, At least your mom sent back some gifts to help out here. Michael held up 2 boxes of the high-powered, high point 1045 carbines, one for each of you, and 30 cases of ammunition. 1,000-round cases? Benjamin asked. Yep. As he handed the boxes to Benjamin, and there's some attachments too. Why don't you back up to the far container and we can unload the ammunition there? All right. 20 minutes later, they were in the cabin watching the president's press conference. The ammunition was unloaded and secured in the container. Michael had showed his adopted parents the adapter and how it worked. He also gave them adapters for the CAR-15s and the Glocks. He had 4 cases of extra large oil filters that the adapters would fit, and those were unloaded in the container as well. After the press conference was over, Benjamin was visibly agitated. What's wrong? Michael asked. The government knew he asked about. They flippin' knew last year. Knew what, dear? They knew about the asteroid last year. That explains the experimental program for farmers. That's not supposed to be a question mark. That's not a question. That's a statement. That was being put back and being put into place back in January. Something like that takes months to set up, and it was being implemented in January. One of the guys worked. There was a report. One of the guys at work was talking about. That was it. They knew and didn't tell anyone until after it leaked out last month. If they'd come out with the news of the asteroid last year, how would that have affected us? I don't know. They could have slow rolled it. We might have bought into it and never gotten prepared. So as far as saying go, tongue tied, untongued. So as far as we go, it was a good thing they waited. Janet prodded him along to see what she did. I guess so, he sighed, but it still irks me that they didn't give more time to prepare. They could have at least announced it a month earlier. Maybe they couldn't, Michael said softly as he stood up and refilled his glass of lemonade. What do you mean? Benjamin inquired. If they were preparing abandoned and dilapidated towns in the Midwest, well, basically North Midwest, they weren't ready for people to move there. Maybe they were racing against time to get everything set up to receive the evacuees. Now that makes a bit of sense, but they should have been able to do something about it. I mean, to make it, I don't know. I just don't know. In my case, I'm very glad that they didn't make an announcement until the news leaked out when it did. Why is that? Benjamin asked. Before he realized Michael was setting up, because I wouldn't have gotten to get run over by your future daughter-in-law in Harbor Freight. And you wouldn't be looking forward to grandkids. I'm very glad for that too. I guess I want it both ways. Well, that's water under the bridge. We can't change it, Janet said firmly. We just need to take care of ourselves and those around us that we trust to work with us. I have an awkward question, Kimberly asked as she was walking as though in a minefield. Yes, Janet replied. What happens if, when Jake gets attacked with such a force that they have to flee and Mom brings them here? That depends on when they come, how many of them are there, and if she makes contact with us before they cross the Colorado River. Whether or not the road to the North Rim is open, if that force is chasing them, how prepared the Forks are here at Jacobs Lake are, Janet said sympathetically. But we would try to get them to the North Rim. Your mother, of course, is welcome to stay here with us, Benjamin said quickly. We already made that offer. I know that, Janet said, looking at Benjamin. I was just wondering if my cousin would be turned around or be allowed to go to the North Rim. Because they're not doctors or educators or anything like those you were talking about bringing here. But they do know farming and canning skills that those people will need to get through through next winter, Michael said. That's true. Learned professionals need someone to teach them farming and ranching and hunting, Janet said. Well, that makes me feel better, Kimberly sighed. This whole thing is the whole thing is changing to me. It's no longer has any sense of adventure. Now that I got to know some of my distant cousins, I'm starting to worry about them as well. Janet moved over and moved over to Kimberly and gave her a hug. That means you still have a heart. I know there are going to be some seemingly heartless things that we are going to have to do to survive, but as long as we can worry about others, we know we haven't gone cruel. Kimberly hugged Janet back. I know, it just makes me feel kind of sick, that's all. A lot of this new world we could be facing will make all of us feel sick at some of the choices we have to make, Benjamin said. It sucks being so smart sometimes, Kimberly groused. Yes, it does, Benjamin agreed. Are you sure you want to go back to Jake's for a week? If we can help them get better prepared for any influx of people, peaceful or otherwise, they'll be better able to survive the aftermath. A strong, law-loving group to us in the long run, Michael explained. Knowledge, trade, skills, and such will make a great resource for us. We can only hope. Sometimes a good group takes on bad ideas just to survive. Benjamin mused. That's one thing we hope to prevent with Alpine. If they don't suffer too greatly, they should retain their humanity. Michael expressed his hope. Good groups will help us recover quickly. Well, let's get your kids packed up with what you came for so you can be on your way, so you can get back before dark. Oh, Michael and Kimberly arrived back at Jake's at 7:30. They were surprised to see a small travel trailer parked in front of Monica's Monica's small trailer next to the small barn. Kimberly parked her F-350 first, backing it up to the barn doors. Michael parked the Jeep behind Monica's 3-axle cargo trailer. The small work light over the barn doors came on, and Monica and Susan came out. You brought separate vehicles. We're going to need them, Kimberly stated flatly. Michael's going to need his Jeep in a week or so when he goes home. You're not going with him? Monica asked disappointedly. No, I'm not leaving you here without my protection. Told you so, Susan said with a smirk. Oh, hush. And waved the hand playfully at Susan. In the meantime, we're going to be hammering hard on everyone to get in shape, practicing defensive maneuvers, offensive tactics, making booby traps, improving their shooting skills, Kimberly said authoritatively. I notice you really put strong emphasis on everyone, Susan started. You too, especially you, since you're staying here with us. There'll be no there'll be no weak links here, Kimberly said. You've provided some nice gifts to Jake and his family, but you need to show you can pull your own weight and not be a burden to anyone. Susan looked at Kimberly in awe. Of course. Good. Morning runs start at 5:30. Kimberly looked at her mom. No way, I can't do that early. I can, Susan said quickly. Let me switch that around. That sounds better. Yeah, said quickly. Monica gave her a dirty look and sarcastically said, thanks. Anytime, Susan started laughing. All right. Hang on, let me check something at 48. Okay. 48. 4 more pages. Okay, I'll struggle through. I am really having a hard time here. Soon they're out then. Okay, 5:30, but don't tease me when I take a nap after lunch. They laugh a little more. Question, whose is that trailer? Michael asked, pointing over to the new trailer off to the barn. I bought it because I knew Kimberly wasn't going to stay at your parents' cabin. Either I can stay in it or you and Kimberly can use it and I'll sleep in Monica's trailer. I think Michael should sleep in the loft for now. Kimberly turned towards her mom and sighed. You told us to go have sex so you could sneak off and abandon me. Now you don't want us to have sex anymore? Wait, but you guys had separate sleeping bags last night, Monica said in a panic. They were zipped. They zipped together. Oh. So you guys, hang on. You guys, 1, 2, 3, have been, Monica stammered. You told us to. What'd you expect? I thought you would have second thoughts and not do it. Then you need to be more careful. You're right. I'm sorry. Fortunately, Michael was stronger and talked me out of following through on your instructions. But you just said teaching moment, Mom, Kimberly interrupted. Oh, Monica said in surprise. Then a scowl flashed across her face. Well, you little stinker. Just like Dad, Kimberly said quickly and smiled. Monica Monica froze with her mouth partially open. She's a lot like James, Susan said. Monica blinked and looked deeply at Kimberly, and then after a couple seconds said, "Yes, she is," and put her arms around Kimberly and hugged her. "You're still a stinker." "I think it'd be better for us to sleep in Susan's trailer," Michael stated. "I'm not so sure about that. If we sleep in Susan's trailer outside, then we won't wake you as early when we get to start our personal training before you get up." "I like that idea," Susan said with a grin. "I need that extra bit of beauty sleep." "Oh, pooh, you're gorgeous," Monica said quickly. "I'm the one who needs the beauty sleep." "Neither one of you needs beauty sleep," Kimberly sniped. "Well, Michael jumped in quickly. "We need to get some stuff unpacked, and I need to go talk to Jake about some training topics for training topics for tomorrow." "Well, let's see. Kimberly stepped over and opened the back of the utility box on her F-350. "I'll pull out the crossbows and the air cannons with the help of these old I need my beauty sleep hags," she chortled to herself. "I'll put our gear in Susan's trailer," Michael said, and hurried away. "Old hags!" Monica exclaimed, suddenly realized what Kimberly had said. "What?" Susan turned around quickly. "I didn't say old hags. I said, uh, I said old. I need my beauty sleep hags." "There's a difference. Really, what's that?" "Yeah, what's the difference?" Michael listened as listened as he quickly and quietly as he could, got his and Kimberly's sleeping bags and go bags out of the Jeep and carried them around the doors of the trailer. He tossed the bags onto the couch and went to the Jeep to get their car 15s and bows. He tiptoed back to the Jeep and listened as he went. "So you think we need beauty sleep?" Monica said with a bit of attitude. "I didn't say that either." Kimberly snorted, trying to suppress her laughter. "You think this is some sort of game, young lady?" Monica chided. "What do you think it is?" "I think you're being a brat." "Not a brat? What then?" "Then what?" "Serious, Mom? You don't get it?" Kimberly said in a suddenly depressed voice. "It's only been 2.5 years since Dad died." She paused for a second. "And you've forgotten his game?" Monica's mouth dropped open. She realized what Kimberly was doing. After several seconds, she found her voice. "Oh, baby, I'm sorry I didn't realize." She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around Kimberly. "This whole thing with the asteroid has got me all out of whack, not thinking clearly about simple things, like your father's games." "Games?" "Yes, games," Monica said melancholically. "What games?" "Dad used to tease us with word games using a single or multiple word emphasis to let us know what he was really saying. And you two were acting like a couple old hags saying that you needed beauty sleep." Monica started Chuckling lightly. James used to say, "You are how you act, so act happy." We were acting like old hags, complaining about beauty sleep. Kimberly was letting me know we should stop acting old and that we should don't need beauty sleep. Ugh. Oh, Susan says she puzzled out what they're trying to get to make sense. Then when it did, oh, I get it now. Now I get it. With everything they needed out of the Jeep, Michael now spoke up. I'm heading over to the house to talk to Jake. I'll join you in a few minutes after I unload the archery supplies. As she broke the hug her mother was still giving her. All right, I can't go on, so I'm going to stop it here, and we're going to start up with this tomorrow morning. Tomorrow we are starting at 10 o'clock Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain Time in the morning, and we're going to finish up the last, never mind. Hang on a second. Let me undo that. We only got a half a page. After Michael talked with Jake about what he brought for them, Jake went out and met with several of his immediate neighbors and invited him to his house after dinner. Now Michael and Kimberly laid out a schedule of physical training, weapons training, and combat action practice. One of the neighbors balked at having to get up as early as they suggested, saying his alarm clock wasn't awake yet. Kimberly fired back, telling him not to worry. She and Michael would stop by the house and roll him out of bed when they were done with their 10-mile run. The neighbor sighed and said that would not be necessary. He'd be up. Everyone else chuckled. Soon the schedule was slightly modified to meet the needs of running their farms. This group would be the key model for the rest of the community to follow. The next week would tell whether or not the community of Alpine would be able to survive the onslaught of people coming from the areas around Phoenix. And there, we got it done. All right, so hit save. All right, so Saturday and Sunday mornings will be at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 p.m. my time, Mountain Time. Tonight on Camp Patton Family Compound, let me get the thing up here. It's happy with it. Friday the 13th, Do the Unexpected is tonight. It's not what you think it's going to be, folks. We're not talking horror movies or anything like that. So then Saturday night on my live stream is Can You Survive Forgetting Valentine's Day? And which one was it? Oh, the topic for Shadow Scout Swede is what is your dream prepping gear? And that's going to be the 4-hour live stream with Shadow tomorrow starting at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. All right, and that covers us up. And so, Monday is canning cheeses on Camp Patton Family Compound. All right, everyone. That's it for today. And we'll see you later tonight for Friday night in the homestead. All right. Take care. This ain't Camp Crystal Lake. We have fun here.